Hello. So this is a landmark video. It's the first video of my 30. It was my birthday today. I turned 30. Um, I'd intended to make this a little bit earlier than now, but I had various distractions today. I had a low-key birthday, but the itinerary, so to speak, didn't work out quite the way I'd intended. So I'm making the video now, but it doesn't really matter because I think that it's poignant all the same. That is the subject matter that I want to talk about. I want to talk about age. Actually, the concept of age, getting older. Um, incidentally, there's a rather comical pretext to this or context. That is that I actually got asked for ID in the bar that I was in earlier. 30 years old. I'm a 30-year-old man, and I got asked for identification. It's I've mixed views on that. I saw the funny side, but um, I was a tad annoyed at first, but on the other hand, I like the idea that people think I'm younger than I am on some level. As for myself, I'm just looking at myself in the video cam here. If I saw this guy in the street, I'd say maybe 25, 26. Um, so maybe I do look a little bit younger than I am. And that's probably a good thing. If I had my beard, I might look a little older. But I don't always feel younger. In terms of any sort of sea change in my feelings, I don't really feel anything. Maybe it's because I've had a few drinks, but I don't feel any different sensation now that I'm in a new decade. And that's good because I don't want it to be overly sentimental and overly dramatic. I mean, I looked at the funny episode from Friends, the TV show where they all turn 30, and the character Joey Tribbiani comes out with, "Why, God, why? Take the others, don't take me." Um, that's my very bad Joey Tribbiani impression, but it's quite a funny scene. But I really think a lot of this comes down to context. I'm talking about age here. To someone who is 25, 23, or a teenager, 30 would seem maybe not necessarily old, but it would certainly seem older. Therefore, to someone of that age group, it would be, yeah, you're getting older. Um, Yet a lot of people older than me would say, "Oh, come on, man, it's nothing. You're still young. You're still young." Now, actually, I'm not of the view that I'm getting older. I do believe 30 is a young age still. But I find that all my female friends, especially, give the impression that they dread coming up to this age. My female friends tend to be around their late 20s now, and some are a little bit older than me, but I'm talking about those who are younger than me. And they tend to regard it as being a very like, oh, you're old, which I sort of maybe it's a cultural thing, because these are sometimes women from other parts of the world where there may be a more of a cultural issue in terms of, for example, expectation to get married and settle down, this sort of thing. But I think that does weigh into a concept of how old you feel as well. If there is a cultural pressure, social pressure to have done a certain thing by the time that you are a certain age, then but I myself don't exactly fit in the norms of what a 30-year-old man should be. And I'm not going to reveal everything in a public video, but let's just say that I wouldn't classify myself as a standard 30-year-old British guy in terms of where I am in my life. Um, I think that sometimes no one puts pressure on us more than ourselves, and there's justification for that because we don't want to let ourselves down. Now, there's no point in me hiding it. In my 20s, I did not achieve what I wanted to achieve, not to the extent I wanted to achieve. So actually, that's why I'm relatively optimistic about, oh, that's why I wasn't dreading this day in particular. Because I thought, okay, I've done some things in my 20s, I've got some achievements, I've got some happy memories. There's a lot of things I'm not going to cry to see the end of yet. There was a lot of tough moments. I see, I am quite sentimental with years and with ages and this sort of thing, so I do see this as a fresh start. I'm choosing not to take it as just a number because I want to give myself the challenge of making a fresh start in my life. And it is just an age. It isn't, unless I do things I need to do to change my life, then this is, it is just an age. But I believe the poignancy of reaching this milestone for me, being 3 decades old exactly, does give me a little bit of a push to be the man that I want to be. And I know that when you're an ambitious person, as I am, you could set so many goals and you could be let down so many times through one thing or another. In this world, we simply can't have everything. We just can't. Even people who multitask and manage to have several big achievements, even they have had disappointments. So you just can't have everything. You can't. Um, I want to be so busy over the next 10 years that I think it's going to drastically change my life. And again, without getting into too many personal issues here, I need to be wary of not letting issues that would usually impact me impact me. Unfortunately. Anyway, I don't want to talk about myself so much, but rather the principle of age. I'm a firm believer that there are many things that you could do late in life that you're not restrained from doing when you're a young person. For example, um, you could be a writer. You could be a best-selling writer, beginning in your 60s or 70s. It's one of the beauties of writing, provided you don't have arthritis, where you'd have physical pain in your hand. Then you could be a writer at that age. There's other areas, painting probably, artistry. Um, there's some areas that I know I'm getting increasingly thin chances. Boxing is something that I've been interested in for years. Now I know that I'm in my 30s. It is a very long shot. I don't know how far I'm going to go. At this stage, I'm honestly being realistic. I'm thinking I'll be lucky if I ever make it as a professional, let alone doing the things that I want to do. There's no laws against fighting at 30. You get guys like Bernard fighting at 49. 30 is still relatively young. But generally speaking, most boxers begin a lot earlier than this age. So it really is a long shot. So I'm disheartened that I do feel that I could have done more in certain areas. I do believe that, but I know why I didn't. I know myself why I didn't, and it's just a case of working with that, working with the knowledge I have, and working with why I made those decisions. I'm working on not making the same mistakes again, trying to make the right judgment, and just moving forward. It's the only way that I can get to that. I don't know if I'm making another milestone before when I'm 40. This company, if YouTube still exists, 2025. I don't know. One of the exciting things about the next 10 years is there is so much uncertainty. That can be exciting. But I have some anxiety, I won't lie. I've got some anxiety because I'm now at a time in my life where there is increasing pressure to do certain things which I haven't done. And I feel at this particular moment I'm a long way from reaching those things. And they're not necessarily ambitions, but just practical things that need to be done. Um, but what I want to talk about here is both what we expect of ourselves, which I think I've covered to some extent, what society expects of us. People are judged no matter what they do. I mean, if you get a 50-year-old in a nightclub, people are going to be like, oh, he or she is too old for this. If you get I don't know, a young person doing something that is more often associated with older people, he or she will be judged. Um, People are always going to be, we cannot let our lives be dictated by what other people think. As long as we try to be decent human beings, treat other people in a civil manner, and just, it's all we can do. I think if we try to obsess over what's uh, what's going to please others, we'll go crazy. Um, I take the view, I look at it this way: if life expectancy in a developed country is roughly 80, so let's say 78 for men, 80 for women, 30 is just, it's less than halfway through, well less than halfway through. Given people are living longer and longer nowadays, you get people living well into the 90s. This could be only a third of the way through my life. It's nothing. But I think it's also very much to do with mentality. It's not just physical health, important as that is, what you eat and so on. It's also to do with mental health. Now, I will just be candid and say I have suffered fairly serious depression in the past. That has deeply derailed me. That is something that I'm very wary of, and that I'm wary of its power. I know that I'm not going to be a robot over the next 10 years. I know that, but I don't want to waste any time. And that's not quite something that you can predict. All you can all you can predict is that you know yourself what you're going to do, what you're going to try to do at least. I'll go around this video up pretty soon, but I think age is very much to do with context. People who are older than me will say, "Oh, you're a young guy," and they're right. I am a young guy, and I'm always quite polite. I don't like to say, "Oh, you're old." You can't say that or something, because I do believe that someone who's 50, 60, even 70 can be they're still going to be an older person, especially someone who's 60 or 70. They're going to be older, but it very much depends what you do with your life, how you treat yourself as well. We can't underestimate physical health. Um, I think that also has an impact on how we approach life. We cannot let society dictate what old and young is, because I think if we do that, we allow ourselves to be molded into what society wants of us. And I don't want to sound too, wild. There's obviously certain conventions we have to obey, like laws, but we can't allow ourselves to be molded too much by social expectations, because if we do, then we'll just beat ourselves up when we don't fit into a certain expectation of what someone should be. So, like I said, I don't fit into the prototype of what a young man age 30 should be in this country. I'm outside that margin, and yes, it makes me uncomfortable sometimes. But I'm not going to. I just know I have to stick on my course, make the right calls. I've made mistakes. All I could do is try and learn from those mistakes and move forward. It's the only way. Um, so let me know what you think. If you like, let me know your age. Um, I really do believe this comes down to context, how old you feel. If you are an older person, feel free to share your experiences. It's not the thing about age, and this is another point I think is worth mentioning. It's something that's beyond our control. We can't stop time. We can't stop the aging process. So, people who are older maybe resent someone being younger. I think that's a bit ridiculous, because you can't stop time. And that younger person is going to be older one day anyway. So, what we have to do is make the most of our youth, however youth is defined. Am I a youth at 30? I struggle to use that word, but I am young. So I would say I'm not a youth, but I'm young. I think that would be an accurate description. Yeah, and it's also to do with how I feel. So I need to be healthy, practical, stand by my values, and just move forward. Okay. Okay, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you think about all the subjects that I've covered. Thank you.